The New York Times did an analysis of economic data in developed countries, and they found that Canada now has the world's richest middle class. They say, quote, "An American family at the 20th percentile of income distribution makes significantly less money than comparable families in Canada, Sweden, Norway, Finland, or the Netherlands. That is the opposite of what it was 35 years ago. While the U.S. is experiencing economic growth at the same or faster rate than other countries, a smaller percentage of U.S. households are reaping the rewards." I mean, listen to that, man. This is exactly what we've been saying for years now, and this is exactly what all of the economic data says when the studies are released. And it's the old graph that we've gone over time and time again, that around 1978 or 1980, when you had the Supreme Court rule that money equals free speech, and then it was the widespread corruption of our politics, and then you had the Reagan administration get in power, what happened was the production of the American people steadily rose. So we're working just as hard. We're working harder than we've ever been working. But the income has flatlined. Our income has stagnated. Now, why is that? That's not an accident. You know, the way that capitalism was sold to us is the harder you work, the further you go. A rising tide lifts all boats. If you work hard, you're going to make the money. Well, that's not the case. Now the system is rigged against us. Now the tax code is rigged in favor of the rich. The laws are rigged in favor of the rich, and they're rigged against the middle class and the poor, which is why even though you're working really hard, your income has flatlined, and it's stagnated. So they don't even get into the reasons why this shift happened in this report. But if you track the economic policies from 1980 until today, you can see exactly what the cause was. So the main culprits are, number one, tax cuts for the rich. See, what happens is when you give the rich tax breaks, the burden then shifts to the poor and the middle class, because the government needs to get the revenue from somewhere. So what they do is they just shift the burden to the middle class and the poor through taxes that are more regressive. So, for example, a sales tax. Sales tax is much more regressive because a rich person, you know, if they have to pay 8% when they go to the store and buy something, it's whatever. It doesn't cost them anything. It's nothing. But if you have somebody who makes $30,000 a year and every time they purchase something, they have to pay an 8% sales tax, that really affects them. That's a much larger chunk of their income. It actually hurts. The second thing is NAFTA, GATT, the WTO, all of the so-called free trade deals. I mean, in reality, what those are is just outsourcing middle-class American jobs and sending them to Mexico and China. You know, this is what's been happening from the 1980s up until today, and that has drastically affected the middle class in America. The third thing that has led to the decline is the war on unions. I mean, the decline in unions in America, specifically private sector unions, is directly linked with a massive drop in middle-class income. You know, this is something that unfortunately the mainstream media has not brought up. They don't cover this, but this is one of the main things. When unions are strong, the protection for the workers are strong, and their income level is higher, and their benefits are higher. There's been a war on unions, so now middle-class families are dropping out of the middle class and living in poverty. And then the fourth thing, and the most important thing, which I briefly alluded to before, is the issue that led to all the other policies being implemented, which is corruption, also known as money in politics. When you have corporations and rich people and special interests and Wall Street giving massive amounts of money in campaign contributions to the politicians, then the politicians, when they get in power, they're obligated to pay back the people that gave them money. So in other words, they're not representing the American people, which is who they're supposed to be representing. That's the constituents. On paper, in theory, that's how the democracy works. Represent the people that put you in office, that voted for you. But ever since 1978 and Buckley versus Valeo and all the subsequent Supreme Court cases that legalized corruption and legalized bribery, well, now we have a system where the politicians represent the people that paid them, which is the special interest and the rich, which is why all the tax code is rigged against your average guy, and the union laws are rigged against your average guy, and now we're faced with a situation where the U.S. middle class is worse than in all the other countries we named: Norway, Finland, Netherlands, Sweden, Canada. I mean, we used to have a middle class that was the envy of the world. That was the American dream, right? The ability of one generation to do better than the older generation. Well, now we're lagging behind in the American dream. We might as well call it the Norwegian dream or the Canadian dream at this point. Is this what we want the country to come to? No, see, what we need in order to get back on track is very simple. We need progressive policies. We need pro-union laws to be implemented. We need to raise the minimum wage. We need to get rid of NAFTA, GATT, and all the free trade deals that destroyed American middle-class jobs. And most importantly, we need to get money out of politics by amending the Constitution, because a law is not enough now, because the Supreme Court said that the Constitution says money is free speech. So the only way to get rid of that is to change the Constitution to say, actually, no, that's not the case. So if you visit wolf-pac.com, my partners at the Young Turks are working on this, and they're fighting hard to get the money out of the system, and that's the only way to do it. All you got to do is sign the petition or donate $5 or $10 or become a member or whatever it is. However you can help really makes a big difference.